to, I don't know, make all the information on this planet to everybody accessible. Something like this is the Google vision. Everything and all is quite a lot, actually. So we see it's not a concrete goal that we will achieve. It's more like time span infinite. It's more like, okay, that's the reason why we are actually here. Then we have, I don't know, mission, values, whatever. And then we have something like a strategy. The strategy tells us how to get closer to the vision. The time span depends on your organization. I see quite a lot of 3-year strategies or 5-year strategies in other industries, like old economy industries, maybe even 10-year, 20-year, if you are dealing with infrastructure. But yeah, we have something like a strategy, right? So let's say 3 to 5 years. So we know what we want to do in the next 3 to 5 years. What we also see quite often in organization, that teams are working on epic stories and tasks. So now we are on the weeks level. So we need to deliver in 4 weeks or something like this. And most of the time, or quite often, here in between strategy and something like epics or stories, there's a huge void. Like, we don't know what's going on here. So, and this triggers some problems, of course, because we need to somehow, yeah, connect these gaps, because especially what I see quite often, and I can just share my experience, that we are thinking in different time horizons, actually. So for instance, people who are somehow dealing with strategy, they are like, we need to enter the Chinese market in 2 years. And the guys who are actually working on this stuff, they're like, are you totally crazy? It doesn't work in our market. It will never work in China. They have these funny letters and everything. Yeah, it will never work there. So it's quite hard. And what I also see the other way around quite often. So here, the team level, they are like, what are our priorities? I'm missing the priorities. Can please someone get to our board and help us prioritize? This doesn't work. I mean, they are like, yes, in 2 years, we are entering the Chinese market. What you are doing in the next 2 weeks, I have no freaking idea. But in 2 years, we rule China, kind of. So we see it's a little bit tricky here. So what do companies do to overcome this? I mean, not too many companies, but more and more companies. We break it down. We break down the strategy to, for instance, yearly objectives. So this means this is all the stuff what we need to do, but what are actually the things that we can achieve in the next year? Then, when we have our yearly objectives, we break it down to quarterly objectives. Quarterly objectives means we're talking about month here. When we're talking about month, it's no longer so far away from talking about weeks, right? So bridging this gap somewhere is quite important, and flight levels can help you do so. This is another breakdown. It's a little bit different than the one on the slide before. And it's just an example. I don't know how your organization is breaking it down. It's an example, right? Flight level doesn't say you have to do initiatives, epics, and stories. You are allowed to think, okay? So how can flight levels help you here? What we see quite often is that the flight level 3 somehow includes the strategy and tries to break it down until there are some concrete actions. Yeah, that's part of your flight level 3 board. That's the idea behind it. When I say strategy is included, for me, the strategy itself is outside of flight levels. So I don't know if you need to go to China, or if it's better to, I don't know, conquer another market. So flight levels is not a strategy tool like helps you to come up with a strategy, but if there is a strategy, flight levels can help you to deliver this strategy. So then the flight level 2 connects here at the initiative, for instance, in this example, and breaks it down to epics. And the flight level 1 connects with the epic and breaks it down to stories, tasks, whatever. And as I said before, this is just an example. Maybe in your context, this looks different, but that's the idea behind it. So if we take a closer look here at the flight level 2, what we see is this work item, the initiative, is part of the flight level 3 board, and it's also part of the flight level 2 board. So this is how you basically connect flight level 3 and flight level 2, right? And flight level 2, as it's in the middle between flight level 3 and flight level 1, in this particular example, we have epics, and the flight level 2 connects to the flight level 1 with the epics. So they share common work items. I will show you later why this is important. So this is how we basically connect flight levels together. Why is this breakdown important? Because what we are doing here is we are creating focus by closing the time funnel. What does this mean? For instance, let's assume we have something like a 3-year strategy. So in 3 years, we need to deliver all this stuff because this keeps us alive, right? So we have a lot of stuff. If we think of, okay, what shall we deliver in the next 3 years? The point is, if we break it down to, okay, that's good, but what does this mean for the next year? Not everything that we are thinking of for the next 3 years fits into the 1 year bucket, but 1 year is still quite a lot. So again, we need to somehow make this funnel more narrower, if this is English. More narrow sounds more natural, I don't know. So we need to make it more narrow, actually. So we're talking about months here, and then when we're talking about weeks, we are on the team level. So what we are also doing with flight levels, we are also somehow closing creating focus, because what we are doing is we are only focusing on these things in the next 2 weeks and not on the entire 3 years bucket. So we are also making the funnel closer, narrower. All right. Now, this is just the